The ghostly legends of Abbey House Museum, a true Leeds haunting. Nestled beside the ruins of Kirkstall Abbey in Leeds, Abbey House Museum stands as a tribute to Victorian life in England. Once a gatehouse for the ancient abbey, the building became a museum in the early 20th century, drawing visitors eager to step back in time and walk through recreated Victorian streets, complete with period furnishings, authentic storefronts, and eerily lifelike mannequins. Over the years, it's become known for more than its historical exhibits. Staff and visitors alike report strange and unexplained occurrences, fueling Abbey House Museum's reputation as one of Leeds' most haunted locations. One of the famous ghostly sightings at Abbey House Museum is the apparition known as the Nun in White, believed to be a remnant from the days when the abbey flourished. The nun has been sighted gliding silently through the museum's dimly lit corridors, often seen late at night or in the early hours of the morning. She's described as wearing a simple, pale habit and an expression of deep sorrow. Many believe that this apparition is the spirit of a nun who once lived and worked at Kirkstall Abbey. Legend has it that she fell in love with a local man, which was forbidden under her vows. Torn between her love for him and her commitment to her religious life, she eventually chose to remain at the abbey, heartbroken. She lived out her days in seclusion and passed away shortly thereafter. Some say her spirit lingers in the abbey house, as if forever bound to the life she denied herself. Several staff members have reported sightings of the nun over the years. One former curator vividly remembers locking up late one night, only to hear soft footsteps approaching from the far end of the hallway. When he turned, he saw a figure dressed in white, standing just beyond the dim circle of light cast by his flashlight. Frozen in place, he could only watch as the figure slowly disappeared down the hallway, leaving an icy chill in her wake. In the museum's recreated Victorian streets, some visitors and staff have reported sightings of a young girl dressed in period clothing, wandering through the exhibits. She's often described as wearing a simple white dress and black shoes, her hair tied with a ribbon. Witnesses report that she seems lost, moving from one exhibit to the next, as if searching for something she's forgotten or can no longer find. One night, a security guard making his rounds noticed what he thought was a child left behind after hours. He called out to her, but she didn't respond. As he approached, the girl turned a corner and vanished from sight. Searching the exhibits, he found no trace of her and later checked for security footage, which showed no child in the museum that night. Some speculate that the spirit of this young girl may be connected to the objects displayed in the museum, perhaps a doll or a favourite toy she held dear in life. Others believe she may have lived nearby in the Victorian era and somehow became tied to the place where her world is now preserved in glass displays. Her presence is described as harmless, but seeing her ghostly figure wandering alone in the dim lighting can be deeply unsettling. For many years, staff have reported the eerie phenomenon of phantom footsteps echoing through the museum's hallways. Often heard in the early morning or late at night, these footsteps seem to wander from room to room, pausing as though someone is inspecting the exhibits. Some even report hearing the sound of shuffling skirts, as if a Victorian lady is walking slowly through the halls. In addition to the footsteps, there are reports of faint voices heard when no one else is around. One custodian recalled hearing snippets of a conversation between a man and a woman late one evening, but when he entered the exhibit room, it was empty. He described feeling as if he'd interrupted something private, and to this day he refuses to work in that part of the museum alone. Volunteers and night staff also report hearing laughter and faint murmurs in the Victorian Street exhibit, where the lifelike mannequins seem to watch in silence. Staff have frequently described the uncanny sensation that they are not alone, as if invisible visitors are examining the displays alongside them. One of the eeriest phenomena at Abbey House Museum involves the old fashioned lamps in the Victorian Street exhibit. Many staff members have noticed the lamps flickering, dimming, or even turning off completely without explanation. Electricians have inspected the wiring multiple times but have found no issues. Some believe the spirits of former residents are making their presence known through the flickering lights. In another strange occurrence, objects in the museum sometimes appear to move on their own. Volunteers and staff alike have come to find furniture slightly shifted or exhibits inexplicably arranged. One evening, a volunteer came upon a mannequin that had been moved several feet from its original position. She had been the last person to check that room and swore it was in a place that she had locked up earlier. There's also a display of antique dolls that seems to be especially active. Visitors frequently report feeling uneasy near the dolls, and some swear they've seen their eyes following them as they walk through the exhibit. One visitor even claimed to see a doll's hand move out of the corner of their eye, only for it to be perfectly still when they looked directly at it. The museum's chapel is another area rife with paranormal tales. Though it's only a small exhibit within the museum, the chapel has a distinct, reverent atmosphere with pews and stained glass windows that seem to carry a shadow of the building's past as a religious site. Many people report feeling a heavy presence in the chapel, and some visitors have reported seeing the faint outline of a figure kneeling in prayer. A young woman visiting the museum once claimed she felt someone watching her as she entered the chapel. Glancing over her shoulder, she saw a man dressed in dark robes standing just behind her. She turned to face him, but he was gone. Shaken, she left the chapel immediately, convinced she had had an encounter with one of the building's past occupants. Today, Abbey House Museum remains a popular destination, welcoming those interested in the history of Victorian England and those fascinated by the paranormal alike. The ghosts of the museum are a mystery, but the strange sights, sounds, and chilling encounters suggest that something of the past remains alive here, unable or perhaps unwilling to let go of the house they once knew. Visitors leave Abbey House with a sense that they've stepped into a world beyond history, a world where time has blurred and the spirits of long ago still linger in silent observation, whether it's the lady in white, the lost Victorian child, or the mysterious footsteps echoing through the halls. The ghosts of Abbey House Museum serve as a haunting reminder of those who lived and loved, and who, perhaps, are still waiting to be remembered.